I don't think that taking creatine is bad or wrong, even if you aren't strength training. Like there's been shown to be some cognitive benefits and things like that. It's not going to be like a magic pill situation. I think it's like, do it if you want.
No, that totally resonates with me because over here, I'm like dissecting the minutia of creatine, but like I drank 2 margaritas last night. Welcome back to this week's episode of Scrubs to Stilettos with me, Dr. Tiffany Moon.
And me, Dr. Nicole Martin.
We are so excited today. We have Dr. Shannon Ritchey. She is a doctor of physical therapy. You may follow her on social media or have been on her fitness app called Evlo, where she has 35-minute workouts that are really digestible, easy on the go. And we are so excited to have her on today.
I absolutely love her content because there's a lot of fitness and wellness influencers on social media and on TikTok. But Dr. Shannon really comes with evidence-based practice. Everything that she talks about is based on scientific research and data. So she is an expert in the field of working out. So when she says something, I think it really carries a lot of validity to it versus just someone who happens to look a certain way.
Yes, I agree. I love it that on her social media, she'll say the research shows, or there was recently a clinical trial that they did this in one arm and this in another arm, and they found that weight-bearing exercise caused this % muscle increase in that arm. Like, she speaks nerdy to me, and I just love it.
So you guys, we are in for a very special treat. We're going to talk about weight training, protein intake, creatine, supplements, and what we can do, especially as we age, to make sure that we are maintaining healthy muscle mass. But before we dive into all of that good stuff, do you have a weekly obsession for us, Tiff?
Yes, I shall toot my own horn because this week's weekly obsession is my 3 Moons Wine Sparkling Rosé. We keep some in the basement as our backstock, and I just realized I'm on my last case of my own wine, which probably says something about how 2025 has gone so far. But it is so good. I serve it chilled, obviously. It's like a dry, right? Like a Brut Rosé. I don't like sweet wines. I like, dry, like my personality. And I don't know, I'm going to have to get with our winemaker and like produce another case because I didn't realize that I had drank through all our inventory.
How involved are you in the winemaking process?
Not very involved. It happens over in Napa, Sonoma. We have a winemaker named Patrick who is amazing. We actually don't own the vineyard of the grapes. We buy the vineyards from someone else who owns the land. And then our winemaker blends the wine. And then twice a year, Daniel and I fly to Napa and we're like, oh, we like this one. Oh, let's do a little bit more Petit Verdot in this one. Like pretend like we know what the hell's going on, and our winemaker like nods and pretends like we know what we're doing, and then they age it in new French oak 18 months. We go for a tasting, and then magically every year we get shipments delivered to our hotel, which is the main place that the wines are sold, because people always ask me if they can like buy the wine, but we have such small production that it's for private wine club members only, or it's sold at our hotels that we own. So
very interesting. That's a really fun passion project. As if you had any time for
when I drink wine, I'm just like, I have to taste this for work, you guys. It's like quality control. And like, how can I say that I own a wine company and I'm not tasting wine on a regular? I need to know like what industry trends there. This is work. I promise I'm working right now.
I totally agree.
Okay, so what about yours?
It's a little expensive. I get it.
We love the expensive.
I'm also obsessed with it. So my girlfriend got the new shark cryo mask and she was obsessed with it. Then her husband started using it and he was obsessed with it. So I decided to try it, and now Anthony and I are both obsessed.
Okay, I don't even know what this thing is.
So it's Shark Beauty came up with an LED cryo
The back looks like my husband's CPAP.
So these little pads right here sit right underneath your eye, and they get cold. But I'm not talking about like a little cold. I'm talking about very cold to depuff the under eye area. Oh. And there's super simple settings. So you charge the controller and there's different routines. So I do this one called Better Aging, and it's 6 minutes long. I put the mask on, I press on, and I clip this to my belt, and I'll walk around. I'll start making dinner. 6 minutes, LED, deep puffing for under the eyes helps to smooth fine lines. And then it keeps track of your progress. So you can see like how many sessions you've done.
And Anthony
This is
is
not an
getting
ad,
this
guys,
too.
by the way.
You bought two, or you use the
No,
same
we
one?
just share it. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
I'll just wipe
I
it
would
down.
like to see live footage of Anthony with that thing on his face.
Remind me to send you a video. He's actually playing Fortnite on the couch, and I sent it to my girlfriend. I was like, look at what's happening in my house. He's sitting on the couch playing Fortnite with the mask on.
That is so funny. And this is the same shark that like originally vacuum cleaner, and then they have
used
a
to
blow
do vacuums,
dryer.
and now they have like a kind of like a Dyson Airwrap, a shark Airwrap kind of thing. And then
Okay,
they
shark, I see you.
I also got influenced by Instagram.
That came up on your Instagram ads? That's how you
did.
got that? Oh,
And
I have
people
not
were-
been fed that ad,
and
but now
people
that
were
my
loving
phone's
it.
listening
It
to
was
me,
a
I'm sure it
celebrity.
will.
I don't know. It wasn't Hailey Bieber, but it was another like young.
You know what
pretty
keeps showing up on my Instagram
influencer.
ads is this Medicube. It's like a stick wand thing.
Oh, and it
like
gets hot to absorb. I
it's
almost
not
bought it.
hot. I don't know what, but Hailey Bieber, when you said that, because she like I guess is their spokesperson or whatever now. So I might have to go buy that device.
I did
One of
see it.
these. One
You
of these.
apply like your serums, right? And then
Yeah.
you rub it, and it's supposed
Yeah,
to
it like makes
increase
the penetration deeper.
Let me
What
know
do
what
you
you
think?
think. You buy
Okay,
it.
I'm gonna buy it. I think one episode we should do like all the devices, because you have no idea how many devices I have. I just
I
bought
have a
this thing
ton
called
too.
Somni. That's a headband that's
Well,
supposed
that's
to
the one
help
you
you
talked about
sleep.
last week.
And my husband is like, "What the hell is that?" Then I have my red light helmet for hair growth and a red light face mask. Then I have a vagal nerve stimulator that's supposed to, get my parasym. But girl, I have so many devices. Like if I spill water on the nightstand, we're all getting electrocuted.
This one also, instead of doing the red light, it does like a blue light, which is supposed to be acne, like beneficial for people with acne.
Yeah.
I
don't
mean,
really have
I don't
acne,
really
but-
do that one. I do
Yeah.
the anti-aging, but there are a couple different routines. There's better aging, there's skin clearing, there's an under eye revive. There's all sorts of different settings, but I
Sold.
liked it. I'm obsessed.
I'm in. Okay. Now let's welcome to the show, Dr. Shannon.
I have to say that I am so excited about today's guest. If you follow me on social media or you've been listening to the show for a long time, you guys know that I love to work out. I am on a big wellness kick right now. And there's a lot of false information out there, especially on social media. But today we have Dr. Shannon Ritchey with us. She is going to help us debunk some of those myths that we see on social media. We're going to be talking about protein, about weightlifting, and especially for a lot of our listeners who are, females entering perimenopause, we're going to talk about all the things that we can be doing to help build muscle and live healthier lives. So welcome to the show, Dr. Shannon.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you both for having me.
Tiffany was actually just talking about before you jumped on that she just did one of your workouts.
Yay! Oh my gosh, what do you think?
I had downloaded the app ages ago because Lauren Bostic recommended it to me. And I kind of fell off the working out bandwagon because I have like 4 full-time jobs right now, but I'm trying to come off of some of them and restart my working out journey. And I downloaded it and did one of the free workouts, and it was amazing.
Yay. Oh my gosh. I'm so happy to hear. Yeah, I love Lauren. And she's been such a proponent of weightlifting for women, which has just been so refreshing to see because, for so long it's like women lifting the light weights only or just doing cardio, and the tides are starting to turn. So I'm so happy that she's promoting it and that you gave it a go.
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep going. I think I'm like motivated now to do the subsequent workouts.
Yay. Love to hear it.
It's so funny because I think there was a trend probably like a year or two ago where everybody was like, oh, I'm in my Pilates era. Like, I don't want to lift weights. I'm just doing body weights and bands and all these things. And now I see the shift, especially in social media, where a lot of women are talking about weightlifting and strength training and making sure that you're building muscle mass and eating protein, especially as we're getting older. We're entering that 4th decade. It's been a fun shift to see because I've always just personally been a fan of weightlifting.
It is so refreshing to see. And as a physical therapist, like PTs, we've been talking about this for ever. We're like, you have to build strength, you have to build muscle. But it wasn't, it wasn't cool. It wasn't the cool thing that people were doing. But it has such a bigger impact on your body composition. And I think when women actually give it a chance, they see that. They're like, oh, wow, this makes such a difference in how I look. And then over a longer time horizon, you feel the difference, right? You start to notice more energy. You start to notice maybe metabolism improvements. You start to feel better, all of those things. So I really am happy to see this shift. And I hope it continues that way because anytime you see like a shift in this industry, you get the swing the opposite way.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're seeing like a lot of skinny talk, and I get on TikTok and I just get infuriated because it's like a lot of women saying like, don't lift weights because if you want to be as skinny and as thin as possible, like lifting weights is going to make you build muscle and that's going to make you quote unquote bigger. And so
Bulky.
just
Lifting weights
bulky.
makes you bulky. That's such
Yes.
I
It
mean,
drives me
that's
crazy.
so ridiculous. Like, do you know how hard you would have to work out to actually bulk? Because I have a friend that's a female bodybuilder. She like literally goes on stage and wins awards for stuff. And she has to count her macros. We went to Chinese food and she was like, I can't eat that. I can't eat that. She was like, can I have a side of steamed broccoli and no soy sauce, please? I was like, holy crap. Like, and chicken, like she has to work so hard to bulk. And these women think that like lifting 15-pound dumbbells is going to bulk. And it's like, no, honey, it's simply not.
No, it's not. And what a lot of times happens to people is maybe they're lifting weights and they're building a little bit of muscle, but muscle takes a good amount of time to build. Like I built 8 pounds of muscle in a year, but that's, over an entire year. Like it's not going to happen in a couple of months. But I think what a lot of people experience is they start lifting weights, they start building muscle, and then they're also in a calorie surplus. So they're building fat at the same time. And so they might feel overall bigger, and that might have scared them away from lifting weights again. But in reality, the reason they probably feel quote unquote bigger is because of the diet piece, not as much the training piece and the building muscle piece. So I think if we're educated about that, then you can be a lot happier with your results and not be so scared of building muscle and strength.
I actually have been trying to build muscle, like actively trying to put on
Yay.
good weight. It is so hard to put on good weight. I was actually thinking of you today. I was working out this morning with my trainer, and I remember something you said on the Skinny Confidential, and you were like, okay, you should have muscle failure or like muscle fatigue between 6 and 30 reps. So every time I was like, oh no, I'm not there yet. I'm going up on the weight. I'm going up on the weight. Till I got to that sweet spot. And then I was like, it's not about the shake. It's not about the shake.
Yes, I love this. I love this.
So I kept telling myself all your little tidbits, right? Because I'm really trying to put on the muscle, but it's hard. It's a lot harder than people think.
Yes. And I think you touched on a couple of mistakes that a lot of women and people in general make when they're lifting weights. So just because you're lifting weights doesn't mean that you're providing your body the stimulus to build muscle. A lot of people think, oh, this is really hard. I'm shaking. Or they go to a resistance training class or whatever it may be, whether it's bar, Pilates, or boot camps. And they're like, this is really hard. My muscles are shaking. My muscles are burning. But sometimes your workouts feel hard, but they aren't providing the stimulus required to build muscle. It's kind of like in medicine, dosage is really important, and how you're dosing a medicine is very important to get the desired effect. And the same is true with strength training. The burning and the shaking is because you are building up metabolites in your muscles. And this is not shown to create muscle growth. The stimulus required for muscle growth is training to failure or 1 to 3 reps shy of failure in 30 reps or less. So if you can do more than 30 reps of an exercise, the weight is not heavy enough to build muscle. Or if you can hold an exercise from anywhere beyond 70-ish seconds, again, the weight is not heavy enough to build muscle. And so an exercise may feel really hard and you might feel burning and shaking after a couple of minutes, but that alone does not create the stimulus to change your body physically in any way. And so I think when you understand that, you start to choose resistance that feels challenging enough. Not to say that you have to do, and we could talk about this if you want, because there's a lot of misinformation circling in the perimenopause community. You don't have to lift super, super heavy for super low reps. Anywhere from 6 to 30 works. You just choose your preference and what you feel comfortable with. But training close to that muscular failure point is really important.
You hear it all, right? Oh, if you want to build muscle, you have to have failure in like 8 reps. But that requires a really heavy amount of weight for a lot of us because 8 reps isn't a lot. But then you end up lifting heavy and then you hurt your back because it's too heavy. So it doesn't have to be 6 to 8. You're saying as long as you're getting to close to failure, less than 30.
Yes. And I think for a lot of people, they prefer to start in those higher rep ranges because your body is still learning the movement patterns. You're learning how to stabilize. And it just feels like less scary for a lot of women because you can lift slightly lighter. Like if you're lifting 20 reps and your 20th rep is 2 failure or 1 3 reps shy of failure, that might feel a lot more approachable than trying to lift a much heavier weight for 4 or 6 reps and worried about injuring yourself. But it will have the exact same outcome. And then what you'll find is maybe after 6 months, a year, 2, 3 years of training like that, you're like, okay, I feel really comfortable in this movement pattern. I now feel like I can confidently lift 6 reps to failure in this lift. And you might find yourself going a little bit heavier and erring on that side, but it doesn't need to happen right away. And that's what's kind of driving me crazy right now is that there's so much dogma about like, you have to do it in this way. You have to lift, 4 reps, 4 sets to failure, or it's not going to do anything for your body, especially as you approach perimenopause. And we've just seen from the data that that is not true. Despite your gender, whether you're male or female, and despite your age, you can lift in that broad spectrum of that 6 to 30 reps, taking each set close to failure. So I think what happens is when we're telling women that you need to do it this way, otherwise it won't work, it scares them away. And we have a problem with resistance training at all and staying consistent at all. So we need to give people options so that they can choose what feels better in their body and they can actually do it and stay consistent with it and not worry about getting injured.
What would you say is the optimal frequency of resistance training? Because there are some people that are like, oh, you have to lift every day. Some people say 3 to 5 times a week. What have you found in your research and working with your clients to be the optimal frequency?
You want to work each muscle group 2 times per week on non-consecutive days. But you could technically do 2 full body workouts targeting every muscle in your body on 2 separate days, 2 non-consecutive days. It would just be a really long workout, right? Because you would want to get your shoulders, your chest, your back, your glutes, your quads, your hamstrings, and you would want to get enough volume. So around at least 2 sets per each muscle group or more. And do that again on a non-consecutive day. So it would just be a lot of volume, but you could train twice a week full body if you want. I tend to like more workouts that are shorter and less muscle groups per workout. So I like to do 4 or 5 strength training sessions per week, training each muscle group twice on non-consecutive days. And I just find that, and there's a little bit of data to support this, you get less fatigued from that type of workout. It's a lot easier to show up for because if you're like, oh, I only have to work out for 35 minutes today, as opposed to like an hour and a half, and I have to really kill it in every single set in every single muscle group because we got to get close to failure for every single one. And that can be really exhausting. So I like to do shorter workouts more frequently and spread that volume and spread those sets throughout the week. I just find it to be more sustainable. You can put in more effort, and when you can put in more effort and higher quality stimulus, you get a better outcome. So there's lots of different ways you can do it, and you could adapt it to make it work for you. In our program, we have 3, 4, or 5 times per week. But so it just kind of depends on your schedule, and it depends on like, are you training for a marathon? And so are you, maybe you want to do 3 strength training days and do your cardio on the other days or whatever it may be. So you've got lots of options.
One of the things I love about your content, Dr. Shannon, is that you really harp on the data and the research. There's so many fitness influencers out there that look amazing, right? And they're sharing their workouts. I mean, I'm one of them, right? Like people always ask me, what do I do? But this is not my area of expertise, right? I share what works for me. And I think a lot of our listeners need to be mindful of where they're obtaining their evidence or their, information from, because you always back your statements by the data shows or the research has proven. Obviously, this is your area of expertise, but that's not the case with everything on social media.
No, it's not. And I think it can be really deceiving because people think that if you look a certain way, that qualifies you to give advice. And unfortunately, when someone looks a certain way, we're not seeing everything that makes them look that way, right? Because a lot of times, your training will have obviously a big impact in your body composition and your muscle mass, but how you eat and your nutrition is just as important. So maybe you're seeing a fitness account that they're only showing their workouts, but you don't see what they're eating behind the scenes to make them look quote unquote leaned and toned, right? So they might be eating very little, or they might be like you said, like your friend going to the Chinese restaurant and only having broccoli with no soy sauce. Like they might, or never drinking alcohol or eating dessert. Like we don't see that, right? We don't see how real life is this for me to look the way you look. And so we just assume, and also genetics does play a factor. I hate when people blame genetics exclusively, but it is the reality that, some people can train much less and look incredible just because that's their genetic disposition. So I think it's important to not just trust someone because of the way they look, but listen to what they're saying and where they're getting their data.
Again, this is not my area of expertise, but for me, I'm in my muscle building era. So I've been focusing on protein consumption because that's just what I've always read and been taught, which feel free to correct me if it is incorrect. But you do need a certain amount of protein intake if you're going to build muscle, if that's your goal.
Yes. And I always say my lane is exercise. I feel like I am formally trained enough to be able to talk about exercise and nutrition. I'm not formally trained, and I like to defer to the registered dietitians. But I have done so many interviews with registered dietitians, and what they say and what I've applied and what's really worked for me and for our community is 0.75 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. So let's say you weigh, just to make it a nice even number, let's say you weigh 150 pounds. So you want around 150 grams of protein per day. And that's on the high end, right? You could go whatever 150 times 0.7 is. I can't do math that quick, but that would be your low end. And then
120 to 150 more or less.
Yes, exactly. So that's what you're
hard. It's a lot.
It is. It is a lot. And you have to really, this is why it can be such an individualized process, and body recomposition. So building muscle while you're losing fat might take people some trial and error and some time, because you have to really find what works for you. So you have to find what you like, what you can stay consistent with. I'm big about making nutrition easy and not making it overcomplicated, because when something's overcomplicated, you're not going to stick to it. You're not going to stay consistent. So I've got my basics that I'm like, that's my go-to. I eat a lot of cottage cheese. I eat a lot of Greek yogurt. I do protein supplementation. So I'll do protein powder. I'll do, on the go, I'll do, especially now with 2 children under 2. I keep it easy. I do protein bars. And then we always try to breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks. I'm always thinking about protein first. So what's going to be my protein source? Is it chicken? Is it a beef stick? Is it, I love sardines. Is it but I know not everybody does. Sardines, is it tuna? Is it fish? What's our protein? And then we build everything else from there. And we're doing the same. I have a toddler. We're doing the same with her too. It's like, what's her protein going to be? And then what's the rest of her plate going to look like?
You mentioned a little bit about protein powders. I too have to consume protein powders because it's impossible for me to get to my protein goal with a busy schedule if I don't get those 30, 40 grams in through a protein shake. What are some of your favorite go-to protein powders, protein bars, and what about supplements? We're hearing a lot about creatine. What are your thoughts on creatine in women? Do you take it?
Yes, let's talk about it. So protein powders, I really like Just Ingredients protein powders. I love their flavors. During pregnancy, I had a cereal fixation. Like I was obsessed with cereal, and this is like the best. Okay, so milk with strawberry protein powder and then strawberry Cheerios. It was so good, like so good. And then it was like, I don't know, 30 grams of protein or something like that with the milk and with the protein powder. And it was like just such a great
Yeah, it
little
made you
snack.
also feel better about eating the bowl of cereal because at least you offset it with some protein.
Exactly. Exactly. I was like, I'm craving this. So I'm going to, and then it made it taste like amazing, like even better. So,
Oh, I'm gonna
highly
try that.
recommend. Yeah. Give it a go if you're a cereal person. But, and then protein bars, honestly, I like no one's to trust my advice because I'm like a garbage disposal and I like everything. I'm like the least picky person ever. But the Kirkland protein bars are pretty good macros. So they're like 180 calories. And then I think they're like 20 or 22 grams of protein. And again, they're just really easy. So I tend to go for those. I've been wanting to try the David's protein bars. Have you guys
Oh
had
yeah, I
those
have
yet?
those. I have the
I
David
haven't
one.
tried them. I'm not a big protein bar lover. Like I would rather just have a shake and call it a day and add some like peanut butter, berries, and like make it into a smoothie. The bars are a little harder for me to swallow because some of them are gummy, like kind of
Some
that
of them are
chewy.
like chalky.
Ugh.
Yes.
Yes.
No, I have tried every kind of protein bar known to man. The David ones are not bad. There's another one called like Aloha or something
Yeah.
that I like. And then there's one that I like, but it has to be refrigerated. And so I always like forget to get it out of the fridge. And then I'm in the car and I'm like, oh, I forgot my protein bar. It's still in the fridge.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
the whole thing with protein bars is they need to be like convenient. You need to be able to like grab them. What I try to shoot for with a protein bar is looking for one that's around 20 grams of protein per bar, and around 200 calories. So that's like what I tend to look for. And not all of them are. Some of them claim that they're protein bars, but they're like 5 or 8
Eight.
grams of protein.
Mm-hmm.
And then what about the sugar content? Because sometimes they're
Right.
pretty loaded with added sugar, or not added, but just sugar.
Yeah, exactly. So it's protein bars are just one of those things that like you do it if you need
If you
to.
need to.
Yeah,
Okay.
it
Okay.
is what it is. We don't need to be perfect.
And then what about creatine? Do we take it every day? Do we only take it after we have resistance training? Is there an optimal time to take it? All the creatine things.
Yeah, so I am a fan of creatine. However, I think that its effects are being overblown on the internet right now. When we look at how big of an effect creatine has on muscle growth, it's really like a cherry on top situation. Like it might have some, minimal effects, but it's not going to be a make or break. And I think what a lot of people are doing is they're over relying on their creatine, but then their training routine doesn't have the right elements to actually be building muscle. So they're like, this creatine isn't working. It's like, well, if you're strength training properly to build muscle, you're going to build muscle with or without your creatine. And your creatine is really just going to be the cherry on top. So I don't think that taking creatine is bad or wrong, even if you aren't strength training. Like there's been shown to be some cognitive benefits and things like that. But again, it's not going to be like a magic pill situation. And I think that it's one of those things like take it if you want. I was taking it. And then when I stopped taking it, I don't know that I saw like a huge difference, to be honest. So I don't think it's like, I think it's like do it if you want kind of thing.
I think sometimes everyone gets caught up on this one thing, right? Like if it's maybe I'm caught up on my protein intake or I'm caught up on my supplements or caught up on the workout, but everything really does work synergistically, right? Like it's not, oh, you take creatine by itself, you're going to bulk, or you do this and you're going to bulk. You have to do the proper weight training, working out, like we said, to fatigue with the right protein intake, with the right like amino acids and supplements or whatever. And everything kind of has to come together. There's no
Totally.
like magic bullet, sadly. Otherwise, we'd all be rich.
Totally.
We knew what it was.
Exactly. And here's the thing, it's like do all of those things like pretty well. Like it doesn't need to be perfect. And I think that's what people get so stressed about. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. I have to eat all this protein and I need to take creatine and do lift close to failure." It's like just do it good enough. Like it doesn't need to be perfect. You are going to get yourself 99% of the way there if you just are consistent and with the basics. And if you kind of sort of get close to your protein goal, like you're going to see great results. If you are training your muscles 1 to 2 times per week on like you're going to see great results. So it doesn't need to be, we get so caught up in optimal. And the thing is, most people aren't even applying the basics. Like we don't need to be concerned about optimal until we're applying the basics because those basics are really going to get you the actual results that you're after.
No, that totally resonates with me because over here I'm like dissecting the minutia of creatine, but like I drank 2 margaritas last night, and it's like, you, but
That's me every day.
but do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Yes.
In my mind, the creatine is offsetting some of the tequila. I don't know. But when you said that, it really resonated with me because it's like we're trying to dissect down like the very minutia of things. And what you're saying, I think, Dr. Shannon, is like zoom out for a second. Do you have general good holistic wellness? Are you sleeping? Are you moving your body? Are your relationships good and not toxic? Like, it's not these micro dissections of things that's really important, but like this whole zoomed out view. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Totally. And yeah, I think you're right. I think people get so obsessive with like the little details because that feels like you get a little dopamine hit when you're like, ooh, like this is like been shown to improve my cognitive performance by X amount. Like I get to take this supplement. Like it's so easy for me to just put this in my water and I'm going to like change my life. And it's like, let's not be so obsessive over those like little things, but then also we don't have to be so all or nothing. It doesn't have to be you apply every single thing. You don't have to cold plunge. You don't have to do heated workouts. You don't have to do Pilates and strength training, which I see everywhere. It's like you have to combine Pilates and strength training. It's like, no, you don't. You don't need to do, you can if you want, but you don't need to do that. You just need to be consistent with the basics, and it doesn't need to be so black and white. And that's what I found over my life to be the highest reward is reshifting my mindset around that, because I used to be an over exerciser. I would work out, for at least an hour every day, sometimes more, sometimes 2 hours, and hurt myself every, 3 months. And then I would be out of the game for 2 weeks. And then I would get anxious that, oh my gosh, I can't exercise. And then I would go back and do more and hit it hard. And you never really get traction that way because it's so start stop. Whereas if you're slowly adding the things that work on a consistent basis, that will accumulate into real results that you can sustain. And all of a sudden, after a year, you're like, I've been not perfect, but I've been pretty dang consistent from a weekly basis. And my body is completely different within that year.
That's totally me. I used to be do weights for an hour, then I'm going to go spinning or do some other class for an hour. And it was like 2 hours of my day dedicated to working out. And the same thing, I would injure my hip, I'd pull my hamstring, I would have IT band issues. And it just wasn't sustainable to put all of this pressure on you to do all of these things. And I feel like now I'm probably 80-20, right? That's kind of like the rule I live by. I try to make good decisions most of the time, but on the weekend, I'm going to go to dinner with my husband. I'm going to have bread, I'm going to have dessert, and I'm going to have a couple glasses of wine. And maybe I'm not going to work out on Saturday. And that's okay.
Yes, it totally is, because we have to live our lives, first of all. And if you are so restrictive, it just tends to backfire eventually. Like I used to be like that with my food, is I would like eat nothing during the week. And then come the weekend time, you're just starving and you just like eat everything. And I would just overindulge in all of the things. It's like, or just not like, or just be reasonable from a data. And I know that's easier said than done. Like, cause a lot of people are like, I have to make up for lost time. Like you have this anxiety about trying to look a certain way or try to improve your health a certain way. So I get it. But once you change your mindset to we call it gentle consistency, just being gentle with your body, but on a consistent basis, it is game changing.
Okay, I love that. Gentle consistency.
Yes.
I'm gonna adopt that. Like, I know you just got back from maternity leave, but for our non-maternity people, can you run through like what a regimen looks like in a week? Kind of what you do on this day. You said your go-tos for protein: cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, some other like little hacks that we can start incorporating into our wellness routine.
Yes. So exactly what I do is what I recommend to everyone. And it's because this is the evidence-based stuff that just works, right? I don't like to waste my time. I don't have time to do workouts that aren't going to have the effect that I'm looking for. So what I recommend is strength training. Like we talked about, the frequency, you have options. I do 5 times per week Right now, I'm just back from mat leave. So I might do 4 times per week for a little while, 4 strength training sessions per week. My workouts are 35 minutes just on the Evlo app. And then I recommend 100, and I do 150 minutes of cardio each week. And your cardio, people stress about the zones. Just get moving and just have your cardio be at least somewhat hard. So at least that light to moderate intensity cardio where you feel like you could still have a conversation, but it's getting more difficult. At least that type of intensity. Now, if you're going to go really hard and do really high intensity stuff, you want to do that infrequently. So short HIIT sessions 1 to 2 times per week that are all out effort. So short meaning 15 minutes or less, in which you are doing intervals where it's like, okay, all out for 30 seconds or a minute, and then you rest and then repeat that again. So 150 minutes of cardio per week. That can be a combination of high intensity stuff and low intensity stuff. I typically just walk. So I walk with my husband. Our neighborhood is hilly, and then I'm also carrying my 10-week-old baby as we walk. So I'm definitely huffing and puffing.
So you have your own cute weighted vest.
Exactly. I know. It's like he like keeps me warm, and he adds a little cardio resistance for me. So I do that, and then I strength train, and I focus on protein. I try to hit 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. I've just found that the higher protein for me works really well, again, because I found what works. And I just feel like I build more muscle when I'm eating even higher than that 1 gram of protein per day. And I just find it's easier for me to stay like kind of in, if I'm tracking my calories, which I'm not right now, but if I'm tracking my calories for body recomposition, like I find it's just easier for me to stay within that maintenance zone if I'm eating higher protein, because it just makes me more full. And then rest. I recommend at least 2 days off resistance training each week. I take my recovery days on Saturday and Sunday, and it's great because I have reframed recovery in my mind to be productive, because muscle is built in the recovery. It's broken down in the workout. So when you reframe recovery as, oh no, this is productive, this is going to allow me to get to where I want to be, all of a sudden those recovery days, you don't feel this sense of guilt for not exercising. You're like, oh no, this is what I should be doing. So on those days, it's not that I'm just sitting around, although sometimes there are days where I'm just sitting on the couch and vegging. But a lot of times we're active, we're walking, or we're doing a hike, whatever. And so that's my routine, and that's what I really recommend for everyone. And I really do swear by it, because it's a good balance of effective, evidence-based, while not completely wearing you down and being really sustainable.
Where does my Pilates fit in this regimen? Like, because sometimes it's not strength training, but sometimes it kind of is. Because if you're talking about like the 6 to 30 reps thing, because I got past 50 classes at Solid Core, like I should earn a badge of honor or something. So now I'm doing like the above 50 classes with the 2 springs. I'm like, this is heavy. I think this should count as strength training.
Okay, the Pilates discussion is like a whole thing, because, and we can get into it. So first of all, resistance is resistance. As long as you're applying the principles of hypertrophy, getting to muscular failure within, that 30 rep time frame or within 70 seconds. An issue oftentimes with Pilates is the exercises are held for much longer than that 70-second mark. So maybe you're holding something for, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. And that just isn't shown to be enough resistance to build muscle. Even though you might feel fatigued, you might be shaking, you might be burning, it isn't the stimulus that builds muscle. Now, you can absolutely train to failure or close to failure in a Pilates class in 30 reps or less. Like you said, sometimes there's heavy resistance, there's heavy springs that you're adding, and you're like, oh, I can only do 15 reps here and I'm at failure. One big thing and one big tip that I have for people, if they're wondering, does my Pilates class build muscle? Am I actually getting close to failure in 30 reps or less? Is to do what I call the rest test. So fatigue and failure are much different. Fatigue tends to happen with higher rep training and is not shown to build muscle. Fatigue is like, I'm tired, or I'm shaking, or I'm burning. How you know if it's fatigue or failure is you stop an exercise and break for like 5 seconds. If you could continue after 5 seconds with doing more reps, If you're like, okay, I can break for 5 seconds and then I can keep going and I can do like 5, 10, 15 more reps after this, it's not enough load to build muscle. That means you were not actually at failure. You were just fatigued. And so that isn't the stimulus required to build muscle. So that's something that I recommend people do if they're taking a Pilates class. And oftentimes what they'll find is, oh no, I was just actually fatigued. I wasn't actually at muscular failure. So that's to answer your question about if Pilates builds muscle. Now, where do you add in Pilates? It depends on your goal. If you're trying to build muscle, I just recommend focusing on strength training because it's an opportunity cost thing. We talked about you want to work each muscle 2 times per week on non-consecutive days, and then you do want to make sure that you're also getting your cardio in just for your overall health. So if you have additional time, which a lot of people don't, like when you really look at like, okay, I'm doing those 2 things, I actually don't have an extra hour to go to Pilates, then I would just focus on the strength training and the cardio. But if you are like, okay, I have this extra hour on my Saturday or Sunday, I'm going to go to a Pilates class, you could try it then. However, if you're finding that you're doing Pilates on your recovery days, let's say you're doing one on a Saturday or Sunday, if you're finding I am super sore after my Pilates classes, or I'm super tired and it's affecting my strength training routine on the next week, then your Pilates routine is taking away from your results. It's not adding to your results. So if you find I can go to a Pilates class on a recovery day on my Saturday or Sunday or whenever you take your recovery days, and it's not affecting my strength training sessions at all, I say go for it. So it's kind of like an opportunity cost thing when I look at where to add it in.
Something that you were saying about the difference between fatigue and failure, I can't remember who you did this interview with, but I remember seeing it on your social media. And for me, it was kind of the thing that clicked to make the difference in understanding the two. You mentioned something about when your rate of movements slows down. Because I always think about shoulders, for example. You do 100 little small circles and it starts to burn, right? And at some point you're like, oh my gosh, I have to stop. You put your arms down, you take a break, and 5 seconds later you can go up and do more circles, right? That to me is fatigue. I was tired, I had to put my arm down and I put it up. But if I'm holding 12s and I'm doing weighted lateral raises with weights, at some point I'm like, oh, I could barely get it up, right? And you start moving much slower with that movement. That to me is failure versus fatigue. Because even if I took a break, the next one's not coming up so fast.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you for giving that example because I think that that's exactly what people experience. Like, oh, this is burning. I can't hold it any longer. It's like you're doing your little arm circles and then you set your arms down, shake it out, and then you can go right back into it. That's fatigue. And that's not a very high stimulant. That won't really build muscle. Yes. So a decrease in velocity, what you're describing, is one of the primary indicators that you're to failure or you're close to failure. So that's another way to tell, am I close to failure? Is my rep speed slowing down? If you think you're at failure, do your rep as fast as you possibly can. And I'm not saying like swing a weight or use momentum or anything like that. Like keep good form, but do it as fast as you possibly can. If you find I am trying with all my might and I cannot lift this weight fast, that means you're close to failure. So that's a really good indicator too. And if you want to combine the two, you could say, okay, my last rep is really, really slow and I can barely get it up. I'm going to rest for 5 seconds after that rep. I'm going to try to do more. If you could easily do 3 or more reps, you are fatigued, you are not at true muscular failure. So all that means, it's not a big deal. It just means, okay, go up and wait next time.
I loved that. That really made sense for me because, sometimes I like the burn because you associate the burn with results. I don't know why that is a notion in my head, and probably a lot of people, right? Like if it burns, it's good for you. But if you're trying to build muscle, like I mentioned for me, and I think especially for more women now that there's so much data on how important it is, it's good to keep that difference in mind.
Totally. And a lot of people think that if it's burning, it's also burning fat or like spot trading fat or toning that area. That's another common misconception. And the burn is not burning fat. So it's just an accumulation of chemicals that causes an uncomfortable sensation. It's not using fat in that area to power your movement. And I think that's a really important differentiator because people are like, tone your arms using these arm circles and these little.
My mom used to buy all those things on TV that was like spot tone. And then she bought I call it the original Emsculpt in 1994. My mom bought this thing off of an infomercial and it was like a electromagnetic stimulation thing. And I was like, that is not going to give you abs, Mom.
No.
Do you guys remember that like blue thing that like the women in the 80s? My mom had it and you put it
Yes.
between your thighs and
It's
you
a
would just like
circle.
squeeze it.
Yes. And then the shake weight. I mean, there's been so much. I have to ask you this because I actually did this. What is your take on Emsculpt? Because I did like 6 sessions and I didn't really see anything.
Tell me, I've heard of it, but tell me what it is and how it works, and then we can
It's
talk about it.
like electro EMS stimulation, and they say when you apply it on your abdomen that it simulates 20,000 crunches in a 30-minute session. So it like makes your ab muscles contract, right? And so it's kind of weird. You're like laying down, but like feeling it. And then afterwards, my abs were sore. So I was like, oh my gosh, did I just like do the equivalent of 20,000 crunches? But then like a few months later, I think it all went away, right? Because I did 6 sessions, maybe like a week apart, and then never again. What is your take on all these like, cheats?
I would love to see like if they have any clinical trials of like actually measuring like muscle thickness after doing that. So I might be wrong on this. If they have the clinical trials, I would love to see that. But from just hearing what it does and how it operates is muscle contraction alone doesn't necessarily create muscle growth. That'd be like saying like, I'm going to sit here and contract my bicep like this for like, 3 minutes on end. You're not going to expect to build any muscle that way, right? Or people think that, but it's not a high enough stimulus to actually create the cascade of events necessary to build muscle. So I wouldn't say that it's doing much of anything. It could be making you sore, but soreness is not an indicator of muscle growth. Soreness typically happens when you apply a new stimulus that your body isn't used to. So if you do a new workout or if you do a new movement, or sometimes when you add more weight, your body's not used to that stimulus. And so soreness happens. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the soreness itself is what's creating muscle growth, because I could do arm circles for 3 minutes and I'm not used to doing that type of movement. But as we talked about, that's not the stimulus that builds muscle. So, I think, like I said, I would love to see studies on it. If you find any, send them my way. But I don't think that it would do much.
It's so hard because there's all these like misconceptions, right? That we've created, social media's created, where if you feel the burn, it's a good feeling, right? Like you're burning fat in that area. You're going to be toning that area. Oh, I'm sore the next day. That must have been a good workout. And so we associate these things with being effective to build muscle, and it's not necessarily an accurate statement.
It's not. And that's my whole goal. Sometimes I feel like I go on these podcasts and I just feel like I'm poo-pooing everything. Like I'm so negative, but it's like, my whole thing is like, I truly think that women have been so misled in this industry. And a lot of it is just marketing and people trying to sell products and trying to sell routines or whatever it may be. And what happens is women just end up wasting their time and hurting themselves. And as a physical therapist, I saw so many of my clients that were coming in thinking that they were doing everything right and they're not seeing results and they just feel like crap. Like their body just hurts and they have all this tendonitis and they have all these joint issues. And it's like, it just makes me sad. Like, I'm like, I just want us to be more educated so that we can use our time wisely and actually do things that are going to pay off.
We have a lot of female listeners, a lot of moms, and considering that you are just fresh off of maternity leave, what advice do you have for pregnant women who are interested in working out during pregnancy? I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions. I remember posting videos of me working out when I was pregnant, and people were all up in arms about how you shouldn't be working out when you're pregnant, and there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of misinformation out there. So what advice do you have for women who want to stay active during pregnancy?
Well, first of all, it is one of the best things you can do for your body. And there's new evidence coming out that resistance training and exercise can be beneficial for the baby as well. So I'm a big believer that you can actually build muscle and strength during pregnancy. And I believe in at least trying or attempting, because even if you don't build muscle and strength, if you shoot for that as a goal, you're going to at least maintain. Because the truth is that during pregnancy, you're tired, your motivation's probably low. Like, I get it. But if you have that as a goal, even if you undershoot a little bit, you'll maintain. And what a lot of people do is they shoot for maintenance and then they undershoot that maintenance. And so what they're seeing is they're actually decreasing their fitness, they're decreasing their strength, they're decreasing their muscle. And so many women are like, okay, well, I'm just going to have all my babies and then I'll focus on this after I have all my babies. And while I understand why you would do that, it's overwhelming. You're tired. Like, I get it. Like, I have 2 under 2 right now. I totally get it. But it doesn't need to be extreme, and you don't even need to exercise every day to have incredible benefits on your body. So stay in the game, try to build muscle and strength. Doesn't need to be super aggressive, doesn't need to be, heavy barbells in the gym, grunting alongside the bros. Like, it can be gentle on your body, appropriate for a pregnant body, and still be effective. I truly believe that I built muscle during pregnancy both times. And I think that has served me postpartum, because now I have this bank of muscle to rely upon as I'm kind of resting and recovering and slowly easing back in after delivery. So big, big, big believer in, we don't have to just maintain, and staying as active as you can without overdoing it and without being unrealistic.
I love that. And I love that you used the bank of muscle reference, because that's like, sometimes my husband will be like, babe, you look great. Like, why do you push it so hard at the gym? Like, now we work out together twice a week with a trainer. And he's like, you don't have to lift that heavy. You're going to hurt your back. And I'm like, no. I'm 41. Like, I need to build muscle because I'm running out of time at which I can put muscle on. And I'm trying to build my muscle bank so that when I'm 60, I don't have osteoporosis and all of these things. So can you talk a little bit about the importance of kind of banking muscle, especially as we age?
Agree totally. I think that, first of all, it's never too late to build muscle. If somebody is 60 and they're listening to this, like, you can build muscle at any age, which is super awesome and inspiring. But the sooner you do it, the better off you are. And this is because the reality is as we get older, it is harder to build muscle. Recovery capacity tends to be lower as you age, and you are naturally losing muscle mass as you age. And so this is why I say, like, don't just do your walks and your Pilates classes if your Pilates classes are not building muscle like we talked about. Let's actually strength train and build muscle as soon as possible, in your 20s, in your 30s, because after that, you're going to start losing it unless you are trying to gain it. And what happens when you lose it is that you have metabolic changes. You have insulin resistance that starts to creep up, risk of cardiovascular disease, risk of osteoporosis and fracturing a bone if you just trip and fall. So there's all of these reasons to try to build muscle as early as possible. There was one really interesting study that I reference all the time that looked at metabolism over your lifespan. And what they found, a lot of people think like, oh, I'm entering my 30s and my 40s, like my metabolism isn't what it used to be. Actually, what they found is that age, from the ages of 20 to about 60, does not influence metabolism. What influences metabolism is loss of lean mass. So if a 20-year-old and a 60-year-old have the same body weight and lean mass, theoretically, they could have the exact same metabolism. So it's not age that's decreasing our metabolism, it is our loss of lean mass. So if that's your only motivator to get into the gym and start building muscle, I think that's a great start. And that is a lot of people's like entry into it. And then they realize how good they feel and how good they look after they start doing it for a while.
I love it. Thank you so much. That was such a wealth of information. I know that, I'm getting back into my fitness regimen. I'm loving the app because it makes me not have to think about it. And I just like stay zoned in and do what the app is. And I love that they're like 35-minute because it's very manageable for me, and I can do it in my little home gym. I have, just the few basic things of equipment. And I just like that even when I'm traveling on vacation, I can still do it. Because I think where I kind of fall off the wagon is when I'm traveling. I can't eat as well. And I tend not to exercise as much when I'm on vacation. So I think all of this is like helping me get back on the wagon, so to speak.
Yay. I'm so happy to hear it. Yeah, it doesn't need to be extreme. It just needs to be consistent.
Should we end with some rapid fire questions to take us out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay, I would love
Are
to.
you ready, Dr. Shannon, for some rapid fire?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. Sweet or salty?
Ooh,
sweet, dessert. I eat ice cream every single day.
Oh, okay. Any particular brand that you like? Like, because there's these protein ice creams now.
Yes, I like the protein ice creams. Halo
Is that
Top
that
is
Halo
good.
brand? Halo?
Yep.
Halo Top is good. And then there's another one that I just discovered, and the name is I'm blanking on the name, but they have really good flavors and high protein.
Are you eating those or you're eating regular ice cream?
I typically just eat those. Like I
Okay.
said, I'm a garbage disposal, so those do the trick for me.
Okay.
It,
You know
it
what I
satisfies
love to
the
kill the sweet
craving.
tooth? Have you ever had True Fruit? True Fruit.
I have not had them. Are they
They're
good?
like little frozen cherries, and then they're coated with like dark chocolate, and you can just have like 3 of them, and it's like the perfect. And then I don't feel so bad because it's a cherry. I mean, how about
Yeah.
Where do you get this?
in the freezer section?
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna send you a picture.
Okay. Okay.
True
Yum.
Fruits. They're very
Yum
good.
yum.
Okay.
What's one movement that you think every woman should master?
Like exercise movement.
Exercise movement. Unless you have another movement for us, which we're happy to listen to too.
Okay, this is kind of a trick question because I don't think that one movement is superior. Like, I think that you should work your whole body, and every single muscle group is important. And at the same time, there's no one single exercise that everyone should be doing. Like, a lot of trainers will come on here and say, like, you have to squat.
Squat. That's what I would have
do
picked.
not
Or
agree.
push up.
Or a push-up. I
My
do not
friend is like,
agree.
every girl should be able to do a normal push up, no knees.
No, because let's think about it. What is the reason for doing the push-up? The reason for doing the push-up is because it's a measure of your overall upper body strength. But if we can use other exercises to get to the ultimate outcome, which is upper body strength, like let's just do exercises that you feel more successful doing, that feel better in your body, that maybe don't hurt your shoulders or your neck, and that you enjoy more. I cannot tell you how many women hate doing push-ups. And it's because, maybe maybe they're big chested or their body proportions make it hard for them. Like it's not necessarily because they're weak. So I think that we over glorify certain movements when if we just look at the outcome and work backwards, we'd be much better off.
Opposite question, one workout move that should be banned or maybe that you see people injuring themselves with.
Russian twists, I don't love.
Oh.
So where you're like sitting, you're kind of in like a reclined position and you're twisting with a weight. I don't necessarily think that those are like inherently dangerous or anything like that. I just think that there are more effective movements to train your abdominals. It's pretty much just loading your shoulders. So you're lifting the weights and you're loading your shoulders. And then the twisting is primarily like momentum, getting the weight from side to side. So I think if you want to target your abs and obliques, doing things like crunches with a ball behind your back or a Bosu ball behind your back, side planks, things like that are just more effective.
What's, in your opinion, one of the best ways to monitor progress? Like a lot of women get focused on the scale and the weight, which we know is contributed by lots of different things. Do you use an Oura ring? Do you use a fitness tracker? What's your opinion on that?
Oh, so many thoughts. We could have a whole separate podcast.
We'll have you back. We'll have you back because I could talk about this for hours.
To answer short, I really do think that just how your clothes fit is the best way to know if you're seeing progress, because you could body recomposition, lose fat and gain muscle, and the scale stays exactly the same, but your clothes might fit different. So that's how I just think that's the easiest way. Just go by the gene test. How your jeans
What
are fitting.
did you use when you did your +8 -5? Did you use like a Hume or something?
I have used the Hume, but I just get a DEXA scan, and that's the most accessible.
The gold
Like
standard.
the gold standard.
But you have to like go to a place and like, right? It's not like you can just do it in your bathroom.
No, you have to go to a place, and there's a place called Body Spec. I think their membership's like $40 a month, and you could get like. So I was doing that, and I was measuring it like monthly because I was really curious as to like how much I was building. But I've used Hume, so I've compared Hume and the DEXA. So I got a DEXA scan, and then I went home immediately and did Hume. And what I found was that it overestimated my fat mass. Weight was obviously the same, but it underestimated my fat mass and overestimated my lean mass compared to the
No,
DEXA
don't
scan.
tell me that.
Yeah.
But I use Hume at home.
Like
and
by
then
a margin of error of what, like 10%, 20%? Like what are we talking?
I can't, I did this like over a year ago, so I can't fully remember, but I think it was a pretty big difference. But here's the thing. we care about the trend. We don't care about the absolute numbers. So as long as you're like in a healthy ballpark, we don't care about the absolute numbers. So you could use the Hume and just make sure that you're using it around the same time of day. You've eaten similarly, your hydration is similar, things like that. And then just go based on the trend. So if you see like over, 3 months, my Hume is telling me that I'm gaining muscle and losing fat, like I think that's reliable.
That's what I use it for. So I do it every morning on an empty stomach before the gym, kind of just so that that's standardized. And it's been nice to at least see the trend, right? My weight stayed the same. It hasn't budged, but the muscle mass has gone up and the body fat has gone down, and it makes me super happy. So I don't want to hear anything about the
No. I still think that's a win. And
I do too. I think that's probably showing you the correct trend. And are your clothes like fitting different and you're seeing differences in the mirror and things like that?
Yeah, for sure. I notice it the most in my leggings because I did not successfully maintain muscle mass while I was pregnant. I was shooting for maintenance and undershot the maintenance. So I know that for sure I lost muscle mass while I was pregnant. So I've been trying to rebuild the booty specifically, and I see it in the leggings. I'm like, yes, I got a little peach happening now.
Love.
Oh,
Then I would not doubt the Hume then. Just keep rocking with that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you,
Shannon.
so
It was so
much.
great having you on the show. I thoroughly
We
enjoyed
definitely
these
have to have you
episodes.
back because I have like 18 more questions. I feel like I just had like a personal consult. I'm like, oh wait, there's listeners for this podcast, but really I was just
It
trying
was
to get
all
my
about me. I'm
questions
sorry.
answered. Yeah, it's all about me. Yeah, exactly.
No, because here's the thing is like if you have the question, so do thousands of other people. So it's never like that. I would be happy to come back and chat with you ladies. You guys are so fun. I loved this.
Thank you so much for
Amazing.
coming on.
Yay,
Go enjoy that baby.
Oh, I will. I will.
Babies.